Oh, fuck. Autopilot just fucking killed me. Testing of an extremely powerful rattle market. Did I really just say rattle market? Rattle market.
Well, he's not very nice. And they won.
I'm gonna go to that other side of Grace. Didn't mean to do that, but alright.
What other side of Grace? And never mind, use it on. What'd you do? Shelby hit examine.
Alright.
All players must agree to enter this realm.
I guess. Oh, look, it's a voting system.
And my game crashed.
Christopher, that is not funny.
My game crashed.
Well, Shelby, you ready for this?
No!
My game
We're not moving!
Come on.
This is a throwback to fucking Warframe.
Come on, buddy. Come on, Shelby. We got this.
A few moments later.
God damn it! Well, hi.
Man, give me some bolts, too, because, you know.
Goddamn, what am I, you damn pimp daddy?
You give me a crossbow with no ammo, and how am I supposed to use it?
Beat him with it!
You okay? Hello? Well, now I'm gonna feel bad. Ah! Ah! I no longer feel bad. No longer feel bad. No.
Man, give me some bolts, too, because, you know.
Goddamn, what am I, you damn pimp daddy?
You give me a crossbow with no ammo, and how am I supposed to use it?
Beat him with it!
No, bro, I'm literally right here. What the fuck? Yay! Damn, I've leveled up. What the fuck am I? Good thing I'm not trying to talk to you. I leveled up. Jesus.
Ow. Don't worry. I'm a master. Ow. I got this. Don't worry about it.
What's wrong, brother? You have a performance issues?
Nick!
Told you, I had it.
Uh-huh.
What are the lights?
Horrified looks from everyone in the room.
I was waiting on that. And I would be behind you.
Yep. Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Nope.
Oh yeah!
Nope.
I'm in danger!
I don't trust this.
A treasure chest.
Oh no!
It's broken.
Oh no.
A few moments later.
Booth said, "Oh, you found that Keck W," which is like a laughing emoji, and said, "Welcome to Ohio." Ah! What the fuck was that?
Don't worry about it. I got it.
It's a level 30. I'm just gonna. What the fuck? The fuck was that? Why was this so? Ah! Fuck! Ah! Ah! Ooh, a farm. Ooh. A super mutant farm. Let's run away. Shit.
I'm literally just going down little. I was gonna go. I'm dead.
Now it's gonna make me dizzy. Oh shit. Autopilot. Autopilot, there's a moon, there's a sun there. There's a sun there. Stop it. Oh fuck. Hi. So, today, we're playing Doom. I've been wanting to play Doom. Me and Chris watched the entirety. Oh, ignore all of this stuff. I was trying to get things to work. I don't know how to reset it. It's fine. We watched all of, what is it? Doom. What's the new one? I forgot what it's called already. The Dark Ages. We watched the Dark Ages, like, the entire, like, cinematic stuff. So I got thinking, I'm like, well, Chris upgraded my computer. I never have been able to play Doom, the 2016 version. Well, I haven't also tried in like 6 years. So, we're gonna do that today. We're gonna play some Doom, and then I will more than likely hop on the Elder Scrolls for a little bit. So, with that being said, I have to make sure the damn thing works. There we go, okay. So we're gonna do I'm Too Young to Die because I'm a little bitch, and I'm not very good at this game. So, and I'm also using a controller because I can. But yeah, hopefully I won't make too much of an embarrassment of myself.
Their rage, brutal, without mercy. But you were worse. Rip and tear until it is done.
Sir, yes, sir. Isn't that the thing we're sealed in one of the games? Hopefully that's not, like, super fucking loud. Yeah, get fucked. Get fucked, bitch. Convenient gun. Damn, dude. Why am I missing? Ugh. I'm so not used to... Why can't I aim and shoot at the same time? Very interesting, Doom guy. Oh, the bodies disappeared. Okay. 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 So are people worshipping me? Oh, I guess so, because look at the candles.
We have to contain this.
Oh, look, it's my suit. Give. Well, that looks fun. Demonic invasion in progress. Base casualties unavailable, 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 unavailable. Satellite discharge array offline.
Cannot determine the cause of the demonic invasion until the Resop satellite is brought back online.
Okay.
Welcome. I'm Dr. Samuel Hayden. I'm the head of this facility. I think we can work together and resolve this problem.
Of course, I'm sure we are.
Benefits us both.
And we see how Doom Guy feels about that. A man of no words. I love it. Except the fact... Oh, I love, the collab that the official collab that they did with, Animal Crossing. It's fucking hilarious. Glory kills. Eh. Okay, so that's just a regular do it anyway. Well, don't I feel like a proper badass? Give me gun. Thank you for no QTEs. Wow, so scary. You're so scary. You big guy. You're so scary.
Lockdown in effect.
I like throw a grenade. Hey, baby. How you doing? Long time no see. Get fucked. Get fucked. Bitch. Bitch. Eat my ass. I go through phases where I don't really stream a lot. There's been a lot of not great stuff happening, so, you know how it goes. Get fucked! No, you. The thing. Oh, shit. Oh, did that make the thingies angry? Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, nice! I'm happy for you. I hope that's been going well for you. I've always thought the V2ing thing was really cool. How do I jump? So, get fucked, get fucked, get fucked. No ammo. Where do I find the ammo?
Demonic presence to unsafe levels. Lockdown in effect.
Did you just throw fire at me? Little shit. No, get fucked. Why can't I run? Am I dumb? You trying to tell me that the Doom guy doesn't fucking run? Suck my ass.
Demonic presence eliminated.
I bet.
Disengaged.
I know there's a lot more stuff that you probably do with it too. I need to move my drink out of the way. Now I'm assuming there's a whole lot. Ugh! Damn it! Oh, I want to see. Oh, I can. Can I? Oh, I can. Cool. I'm not gonna lie though. This really makes me want to play Prey a lot more. Cause I didn't know Bethesda made this game. Had no idea.
We cannot be allowed to leave this place. It would ruin everything.
I'm willing to take full responsibility for the horrible events of the last 24 hours, but you must understand. Our interest in their world was purely for the betterment of mankind. Everything has clearly gotten out of hand now, yes. But it was worth the risk, I assure you.
Oh shit! Motherfucking Doom guy! I love that his name is officially either the Slayer or motherfucking Doom guy. Oh, where am I at? Is this Mars? Oh, okay. Okay. Whoa. Okay. Hold the L button. Oh, what did I just do? Alright, but charged energy round. That's kind of cool. Okay. I like my shotgun though. Do I just jump? I don't know if I just jump. I guess I do. Impact compensation. Well, thank you, computer. Everyone, take the computer. Okay, stop. Okay. Hopefully the sound's not too god-awful out of balance. Oh shit, okay. Get fucked. Haha! Okay, come on, come on. Come on. Come on. Oh, that was really not at all what I thought it would be. I keep wanting to hit Y to do it. No. I can't run. I don't like that. Like, I want to sprint. You know what I mean? Picking up what I'm laying down. Get fucked. Hey! Hey, that was rude. It's hitting me. Bitch, don't you know who the fuck I am? Oh, I've noticed I don't have to reload. That's cool. But I do need ammo. I don't like the... That's also fucking me up. Yeah, I'm definitely one of those I can't stand an aim assist. There's more. Alright, so we're going underground. Where do I go? Am I dumb? Is there some place I'm just not seeing? I mean, I see that the thing says over there, but... Oh, yeah, I'm dumb. That's what it was. That was a me issue. Bitch. I'm the motherfucking Doom guy. Okay. Motherfucking Doom guy. Oh, you're exactly what I need. Cool. Cool. Hi. Let me in. I'm the Doom guy. What kind of grenade? Ooh. Okay. Damn! That shit was hot! Hell yeah. I saw one of y'all. I thought I did. Hi. I'm here to kill you and all your brethren. Damn, bro. Doom guy does not fucking hold back. Hi, I just need you to... on the little bit of getting fucked. Y'all, this is the easy difficulty. I'm gonna die. Okay. Hello? What are you? Combat wet support drone. Ooh. Explosive shot. Or charge burst. Speed recovery, breaker boom, instant load, or quick load. I want the explosive. Don't hit the robot. He was just trying to help. That's so mean. I say as I hit him too. He's a bad influence on me. Whoa, I didn't move that. Wait, what? Okay, I kind of understand how this game works a little bit now. Hi! Hi! Just here for, you know... No. That's no fun. Hey, stop running away. Stop running away. Where'd you go? See, you're running away, and that's rude. Oh my god! I love this game. Where's my... Ah! You little shit! Bitch! That's what you get for scaring me. This is supposed to be a horror game. I mean... Would you consider Doom a horror game? It's very gory, but that doesn't make it scary. Scary and gory are not... dependent on each other. Chain. Chain. Bitch. Yeah, get fucked. I don't know what this is. Yeah, y'all better run from me. Oh yeah, I haven't even tried this yet. Oh shit, I missed. That was not bad. Hi! I'm really bad at this. We've already been there. Y'all are kind of overrunning this, huh? I want a melee weapon. Is that a thing on this game? Because I know it is on Doom, the new one. I don't know if it is with this one. Oh shit. Hello? Bitch. Hi. Here. Great time to try that. That is, that's pretty gnarbuckle, bro. Bitch. Y'all getting on my fucking nerves! Stop hitting me! How dare you defend what you think is yours? Fucker. Did you just try to self-destruct? That's one way to do it. I didn't realize, I did not realize that. Hey! Yeah, that's not very nice. You know what? I'm gonna fix your ass. I'm really bad at this game, so we're gonna ignore how bad I am at this game. Okay? Cool. Because we all know okay, cool. I don't care. We're not gonna talk about it, okay? We're also not gonna talk about... What the fuck? I didn't do that. We're just gonna ignore that, okay? How the fuck did you do that? That's kinda crazy. Let me in, motherfucker. Look at that. Oh, look! Fire! What is that? Oh, it's health. I knew that. Oh, I just went backwards. Whoops. Or did I? Yeah, I did. Okay. Let's go. Oh, it's up there I have to get. Okay. I'm not used to games with having a lot of levels. Like depth on the upside. Let me in, motherfucker!
Welcome to the UAC. Now 221 accident-free days.
Yeah, okay. That's the entirety of your welcome intro? That's cool.
God rested on the seventh day. Imagine how much further along we would be if he hadn't. The UAC is committed to excellence. That's why we implemented the 7-day work week. Now you can achieve greatness alongside your coworkers every day.
I'd shoot you.
Stop achieving.
Oh. Wait, the first mission of the campaign. Yep, that's me. Definitely did everything. Did everything! Oh yeah, I don't have no fucking shit. Know your enemy.
Hello, I am Vega, the sentient intelligence assigned to Mars. After running diagnostics on the Praetor suit, it appears that I can activate optional challenges that, when completed, will assist in upgrading your arsenal at an accelerated pace. I have added a tracking component to your dossier.
Cool. I just wanna rip and tear. Oh. I mean, I can't die, so. I am now lore accurate. If you look at my health.
All entrances non-operational.
You look, I am lore accurate. I saw something glowing.
Main tower offline. All entrances non-operational.
Y'all making a whole lot of fucking noise! Being annoying as shit! Just fucking come up here. Well, which way do I go? I came from here, right? Yeah, I just came from here.
Main power offline. All entrances
Oh.
non-operational.
I see it now. So I have to do what? Let me out! Am I dumb?
Main power offline.
I get that.
Entrances
What the fuck do I do? I saw that, but I can't do anything because it's low power. Oh, is this? No, it's still the same fucking place. Am I dumb? Don't answer that, because I already know the answer. Then what the fuck do I do? Oh.
Main power offline.
I found it.
Entrances non-operational.
Get fucked.
Main power online.
Satellite.
I believe in honesty,
Oh shit.
especially now, in what will be your final moments in this world. All the rumors, the human sacrifices, the hell portal, the demons. It's all true. My sisters and brothers, be thankful. You will be the first. You will have a seat alongside them, just as I will, in what will become the new world that they create for us. Starting now.
I'm gonna go kill you now. Okay? Cool.
I believe in honesty, especially now. And
Y'all make a whole lot of fucking noise.
My sisters and brothers, be thankful. You will have a seat alongside them just as I will. On the new world that they create for us. Starting.
Oh, I can just jump down there, okay. Can I please fucking kill y'all now?
Especially now. In your final moment.
Scared the hell out of me.
The human sacrifices. The hell. The demons. It's all true. My sisters and brothers, be thankful. You will be the first. You will have a seat
We love a good possession. We love a good possession.
Demonic presence at unsafe levels. Lockdown in effect.
Get fucked. Love that. Y'all are really fucking loud. There we go. I feel like that'll be a lot better. Not down. Reaction shot.
Lockdown disengaged.
Cool. Now I can go. I can go do shit.
Here at USAC, we take pride in workforce, and each year we harvest only the best of the best. Are you ready to move up? To take on new challenges? To become more than you ever dreamed you could be?
Oh, fuck yeah. Please let me. Please? Please? Can I please? Please? I hope you guys are aware the rest of the stream is just gonna look like this. We'll go back to a shotgun for now. But that was very satisfying.
Yellow security clearance required.
Oh my god. Now I gotta go find a motherfucker wearing yellow. Whoa. Ow. That just... That would have killed me if I didn't have sheets on. Oh. So where's the guard? Oh. Good.
Access denied. Yellow security clearance required.
Oh. Where is the yellow? Feels a lot like Prey. What the fuck? What the fuck do I get? Am I dumb? Maybe they're in here or something?
The world is counting on us. How committed are you?
What's that? Oh, South Station.
Here at the UAC, we take pride in nurturing a growing workforce, and each year we...
It wouldn't be all the way out here, would it?
Are you ready to move up?
I don't think so, right?
More than you ever dreamed you could be. Talk to your
I'm not.
supervisor to see if you meet the requirements for this year's Soul Harvest.
Why can't I move? So here's my issue. I don't know if it would be in the back or back there. I don't know where it'd be. Oh, there's stuff over here. Oh. Oh! Huh. Found it. Well, I don't think I found it, but found something. Oh shit. About got my ass handed to me. Die, motherfucker, die, motherfucker, die. Hi. Sorry to bother you. No, I'm not.
Beyond presence at unsafe levels. Lockdown in effect.
Come on.
Beyond presence at unsafe levels. Lockdown in effect.
No, I want to kill him. Yeah.
Beyond presence eliminated. Lockdown disengaged.
Damn right it is. Know why, guys? Because I'm the motherfucking Doom guy. I tried to tell you. She's pretty fun though. Ain't gonna lie. Roadie. Both? Thanks. That was a reflex shot. Oh my god, I have to go all the way back. Alright. So where was this again?
Access granted.
About fucking time. And I don't need any of it because I'm a cheater. Alright, let's go, I guess? Okay, so now I can go here. What?
Access granted.
Welcome to the UAC's Mars installation, located in the vast Hellas Plain impact basin. This high-tech mining and research facility is pushing the boundaries of the imagination each and every day.
Is this an assault rifle? Hell yeah, it is.
It's more than just a commitment to
Oh, I'm about to have fun.
the future of mankind.
We're about to have some fun, y'all. Why do y'all keep talking about fucking security? Guess that. This gun makes me incredibly happy. Can you get the fuck out of my way? No, I want the shield guy. I want the shield guy. I want you. Get fucked, get obliterated. Hi. Bitch. The fuck is that? Oh shit! That would have been nice to have earlier. Going berserk. Great. I'm like literally got nothing to go berserk on. Love that for me. Motherfucking Doom guy, bitch. Oh, he does not fucking care.
I'm blocking your access to the facility scanner.
Bitch.
Come to the Vega terminal, and I'll give you what you need.
I don't like being told what to do. I have one job, I'm doing the one job, and you are preventing me from doing my one job. Rude. Extremely rude. So where the fuck is that? Oh. How do I... Oh, I'm dumb. Am I throwing something at me? Y'all are really rude. I do not care. Even more rude. Eat my fucking assault rifle, bitch. You can really eat a big dick. Just the biggest, girthiest one there is. Bitch. Oof, how embarrassing for you. Like, y'all can't even last a minute against me, like... Embarrassing! Oh. So that's just how I'll deal with them. Get fucked.
It's a gift. Take it. It will give you strength, help you on your journey, if you can withstand the power surge.
Bitch, I'm the motherfucking Doom guy. What the hell do you think? I don't need any. Because I'm cheating. Are you a robot? You're a robot.
I will unlock the remaining Argent cells within the facility for you.
Sweet.
Give him what he wants.
61,337
Damn, over half.
Creatures you see roaming throughout the facility. The rest were killed by the demons released from the holding cells by Olivia Pierce.
I feel I should apologize for what's happened here. Some of my employees took things too far. Olivia was the cause of all this, and I believe you will have to deal with her in time. You may not agree with our research, but know this.
Y'all fucked with the wrong shit, bro. I'm gonna wait till this to save. And then we're gonna switch to Oblivion. Can I go? I don't feel like, nope, I don't feel like talking to you.
But none of that matters now.
There is an emergency in the foundry. Regulators have been destroyed and the core temperatures are now destabilizing.
Well.
Facility. If the vector turbines aren't re-engaged, neither of us will survive the meltdown.
Cool. I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna go now! Asshole. Your own fucking fault. I should let you all fucking die. Dick. Alright. Now, we're going to quit out of WeMod. We are gonna switch to Oblivion. That was pretty fun. Not gonna lie. Yeah. Why is it not? Oh. Oh, there it is. The coolest fucking intro I've ever seen in my life. Is that fitting correctly? Yes, it is. Gotta change the stream info real quick. I don't know the fuck. About call this Elder Scrolls Online. That's not it. Oh damn, I forgot that I was using WeMod for this game. Whoops. Un momento, por favor. I forgot I was gonna do the over encumbered thing. Dead Island 2? You're about 10 years fucking late. Excuse me. Damn. Alright, what am I doing? 08. No, control number pad 6. Oh yeah, because I didn't know. Oh no, we're not using control. Alright. I don't know what to do. Oh, you have to. Oh, you're literally right there. I don't know what to do with this one. I don't even know which one it is to... But I would assume that one. How the fuck do I get in? Because I seem to remember there used to be one where you would walk around for hours. And I eventually came across like this really hidden shit. Door. I don't know where the fuck it is. Where's Chris when I need him? Cause see, that's not it. Am I still on fire? Jesus. I don't know what to do. There's an enemy. Look at the trail it leaves. Left. Genuinely, I'm about to no clip and just fucking go up there. Because this is ridiculous. Because I tried for like an hour after stream the other day.
Hello.
God damn it, Aiden. You scared the shit out of me. You genuinely scared the shit out of me. What the fuck, bro? Hi. I'm sitting here like fuming because I can't figure this fucking thing out. And here you come. Okay. There's a thing up there. So how the fuck do I get up there? Hate it. There's a door up there, but there is no door. Oh, I fell. There is no fucking door! Literally. I'm so fucking irritated. I'm literally about to get Chris to watch the stream so he can fucking show me how to fuck. Ah! Fucker. I'm literally having to call on the Oblivion expert. Because I don't fucking know, bro. I don't know what the fuck to do. I am defeated.
It's time to stop!
Fuck off, Aiden. Oh my god. Unless he's doing something. And then I'm just screwed. Because I've literally, like, wandered around for hours after stream one night. Trying to figure out what the fuck to do. Because how the fuck do you get up there? I don't even see where it is anymore. Like, there is no other way up there. There's no other way up there, so I don't fucking know. I'm about to just fucking no fall damage and just leap down there. Unless I'm really stupid, there is a front door that I just didn't see. No? Cause I know it's this one, cause damn. You know what? I'm gonna Google it. Cause we are in Oblivion. Portals of natural disaster. What the fuck is that? Oh! Yeah, because every one that I opened up was like tsunami and shit. Oblivion, portals of natural disaster. Damn it. Did you subscribe? Or is that just telling me who you did before? Why didn't I get the notification? Bro, this fucking thing is so goddamn broke. It's not even funny. Well, thank you for the subscription. Jesus Christ, I hate this fucking... Another viewer gave me money last time I streamed and I had no notifications. And I'm like, what the actual fuck? What the fuck? Richard? Stream limits. Why do you not fucking work? You did not have to get in my face like that. Bro, really? I'm gonna crash out. Everything wants to break today. Yeah, it's not even saying that you... Twitch isn't even telling me you did. But I see it on your thing. What the fuck? That makes me feel bad. Like, literally, it only shows... I don't fucking get it, bro. But give me a second. Okay. This tsunami. Fucking course. And see, now that's got my mind racking about why the fuck my alerts aren't working. No worries, bud. Sorry about all the confusion. Oh my god. I'll see you later. Earthquake. I need to go here. bad. Okay, let's run up here now. Motherfucking Doom guy. I can turn that off now. Oh, I think this is it. It is! Oh my god! Thank you! Jesus fucking Christ! Yeah. Get fucked. Get fucked. Alright. Finally, we done this fucking Oblivion game. Yeah, get fucked. Oh. Oh. Boots! Hi, buddy! Hope you're well. Everything keeps breaking in my stream, and I want to cry. I had a sub, and fucking Twitch wouldn't tell me. Just had a donation last time. Didn't fucking work. Love it. It's great. Oh, yeah. Oh. But it's very good to see you. Every time I stream, I'm like, I hope Boots is doing okay. Damn. Can y'all stop, like, hitting me? That'd be really great. I had to Google how to get through this fucking Oblivion gate. Yeah, I figured that's what it was. I'm also off Tuesday and Wednesday, so I'll probably Expedition 33. What is that? Claire Obscure. Sounds like a video game. Hi, I want to kill you. I'm also going to kill you. Oh. There's a game I want. I posted in the Discord. It's like a town sim game, but like Call of Cthulhu kind of stuff. And I'm like, I want to bet. RPG made by next Ubisoft devs. It might possibly be one of the best games. Really? That high praise, huh? Send me a DM with it so I can look at it. Because that sounds pretty rad. You know, you're really fucking rude, you know that? You're really on Game Pass. I don't have Game Pass. And I hate Microsoft, so... Oh, there that goes. Hi, Sicklestone! I know it's pronounced sigil. It's a Critical Role joke. Oh no! Oh no! Bitch. I like antagonizing. Y'all, hands are up here. What the fuck is my computer doing? That was... okay. Oh, let me look. Can you bite me? I don't want to watch it. No. Oh, that's pretty. Oh, that's... add that to my wish list. That's pretty fucking cool. Basically French Persona with incredible music and story. Nice. That's another demon spawn down. Hi, baby. Hi, pretty baby. I wish we could pet Shadowmare. Want that. Okay, so we got a 0-star. We have the skeleton key. We have Dawn Fang. What else can we do? It's been so long. Let's do the main storyline, I guess. I don't know what the main storyline is. Okay, let's do this. Real quick, I need to go grab a drink, so let me do this real quick. I will be right back. If I can stop.
Spare a coin for the infirm?
No, spare coin for my dick! I'm back. Huh. Oh, wrong one. Nope. Wait, yep, there we go. We did it. We did it, folks. I'm here. I have too many fucking wires. It's killing me. Okay. Get out of my way, bro.
How goes it?
It goes. It goes, bitch. Yeah, I don't understand why that fucking... It's really pissing me off that Twitch did that. They didn't tell me that he subbed to me. That pisses me off.
Sit down. Don't say anything. Just do what I say.
3-3. Hang on. What if I want to take a drink too? Bitch. Alright.
Listen, I'm going to get up in a minute and walk out of here. That guy in the corner behind me will follow me. You follow him. Good. Remember, wait for him to follow me.
I'll fucking kill you, bro.
I do not fear death.
Good.
Only the chosen will survive the cleansing. I do not fear death.
Oh. Hi.
Good work. I am glad to see this. What? They took it from Joffrey? Things are... Thank Talos he lived. There's a scholar at the Arcane University.
Oh yeah, I was gonna do a Mages Guild.
Supposed to be an expert on Deidre. Why don't you take that book to her? See what if you learn anything. Like I said, I hope
Okay.
you learn something from Tarmina about
Okay. Okay, Boris. Shut up.
What do you need, friend?
The fuck? How did you get... Bro. About to get fucked. Get fucked up. Oh yeah, we'll just I don't feel like walking that far. Your horse is stabled outside of the... I really want to find a game like Stream Raiders where y'all can do shit and then every however long, you know, we do something. I hate that they shut it down. Carmina.
Ah, you must be the one I got the message about.
Damn,
How
girl.
can I help you? You know them, one of the most secretive of all the Daedric cults. Not much is known about them. They follow the teachings of Mainkar Cameron, whom they call the Master, a shadowy figure in his own right.
I found their book.
Yes. Come find them. In any case, finding them won't be easy. I've studied. It is clear from the text that Mainkar Cameron's commentaries come in 4 volumes, but I've only ever seen the first 2 books. I believe that his writings contain hidden clues to the location of the mythic those who if you want to find them. Here, you can have, as I've said, I've never even seen the 3rd and 4th volumes. You should try first edition over. Phintius, the proprietor, caters to...
Cool.
It was so nice chatting with you.
Is it back? I already remember where. Oh.
You have my ear, citizen.
Battle mage. I'm a battle lizard. A lizard wizard.
I saw a mud crab a couple of days ago. Ugly little animals. Horrid beasts. I hate the things.
You? So sure. Bitch, you got ghosts.
I'm Phintius. You must be referring to Mainkar. It comes in 4 volumes. I happen to have a copy of Volume 3 on hand, but Gwyneth would be terribly disappointed if it was gone when he came. I'm afraid I wish I had one, but I offer the finest goods and lowest prices in all. I'm listening. Thank you. How kind. Very well. I hate to deny a
money makes everything go round.
Scholar like yourself. I hope you'll keep us in. Good
Thanks.
Day.
Are you angry at me now? Fucking eat you. I'm the dragon. Oh. No, I'm not.
Hurry up before I change my mind. Good night. I'm through talking to you.
Where do I get the 4th? Can I really not talk to him?
I'm here for my book, Mainkar Cameron's Commentaries, Volume 3.
Ah, about that. You see, I don't have it anymore. Terribly sorry. Full refund, of course.
You could be sure I won't be back. I've never been treated so shabbily in all my life. Good day, sir.
Oh, good day, sir.
Bothil. I don't want to talk about it. I'm still... What makes you think that I know how to get it? And why would I tell you, even if I did know? The Mythic Dawn? Are you... Very well. I know that Daedric cults are not quite a thing socially, but that's just foolish prejudice and superstition. For the adventurous, open-minded thinker, Daedric worship holds many rewards. What? The Mythic Dawn were the ones? You have to believe me. I truly had no idea. I mean, I knew they were a Daedric cult. Mainkar Cameron's views on Mehrunes Dagon are fascinating, revolutionary even. But to murder the Emperor? Mara, preserve us.
Oh, now you suddenly care.
Yes, of course. And I really know very little. They contacted me. I suppose they learned that I was looking for the 3rd and 4th volumes. I've never actually met any of them. You could only get Volume 4 directly from a member of the Mythic Dawn. I had set up a meeting with the sponsor. I said, here, take this note they gave me. It tells...
Thanks. Stupid. Getting yourself into shit you don't know anything about. I already forgot what it was called. Wasn't it something Gwyneth? No. Probably Mythic Dawn's fucking... Note to Gwyneth. Why does he walk? not everybody's. A lot of it's, to be honest with you, a lot of it is nostalgia for me. That was just next door. I'll just run there.
Evening.
And it's also, it's got really good storytelling, but it's also like, the bugs are part of the charm. It's like how Fallout always has some kind of bullshit going on. Oh. Damn it, now I'm hungry.
You're not easy to get hold of. What have you found out?
It's been literally 20 minutes, dude.
It's just my... We need to get that Let's go. They'll...
I don't want you to come with me.
Follow me.
Why do you know the sewers so well?
Sewers where we need to meet the sponsor.
I don't even know why I wear the detect life thing. Come on, Boris, we got shit to do. You can walk with a little bit more urgency than that, my dude. Again, why is it doing this? Where'd you go? Hi! So, I have things for you. Now we can cook them. Get fucked, crab. Get fucked, Mr. Krabs! That shit's so fucking funny. Oh. I'm gonna have to wait for him. Come on, bro. You're so slow. The only negative thing about Oblivion.
This one's mine.
No, it's not. Okay, well, maybe it is. No, 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 no. You're mine. You're mine. You're mine. Said. You're mine. Oh, I just hit. Oops. Sorry, Boris. Why did you just... You fucking walked past it, Boris! I almost killed Boris. Can you stop getting hurt?
Get my back.
I don't want to. It's getting on my nerves.
A little closer.
Oh my god, I'm gonna have to go back because he's not fucking there yet.
Get my back.
Oh, he is. Come on, broski. Get fucked. Wow! Real big dirt. Can you come on? That's it, right?
All right, the room with the table is just through this door. I always wondered who put it there. I happen to know that if you... I think I'd better be... No, it should be me.
Alright, fine.
Listen. I'm glad to have you at my...
So, you want to become one of the chosen of Mehrunes Dagon. The path of dawn is difficult, but the rewards are great. I have the book you seek. With it and the Master's 3 other books, you will possess the key to enlightenment. But do you have the wit and strength to use the key that you've been...
There's someone else here! There's someone else here!
Kill them!
God damn it.
The chosen will survive the cleansing.
The dragon!
God damn it. Of course, my fucking sword is auto unequipped.
Only the chosen will survive the cleansing.
Not
Die,
this day.
unbeliever.
Bitch.
That's 3 more that won't be reporting back to their master.
Okay, so he's the one that has it. God, I keep tearing up.
Now that you have all... I'm going to Cloud Ruler Temple. My place... I'll see you...
Cool, bye!
Good luck.
Ooh, firewalking. Oh my god, my eyebrow. I'll take it, just take. Alright, so let's go read all the bits. That's GTFO, bitch. Get the hell out of here. Oh, hi! I'm gonna kill you. Oh, shit. Sorry, Bars. How are you alive? Imagine you're just chilling, and then just all of a sudden, dude comes from out of nowhere and, like, whoops your ass. Oh look, a hidden escape. I should go in there. And I should go. No, you know what? You know what? This one's just for you. Thunder, thunder, thunderclap, bitch. I keeps watering. Out of here. God damn. Oh. Oh. Didn't even get to have his little thingy out. Ow. Can I just fucking go? Y'all getting on my nerves. Oh. I'm not doing the glitch either. That's literally just the Nocturnal's, skeleton key. Hi, sorry, I just came for your basement. Not trying to bother you, but, you know. Just trying to. Nope, 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 no witchery here. No bullshit here. Sorry. I'm behaving. What enemy? I didn't realize it was at 100. What enemies?
What do you need? Long live the Empire!
Why does this say I have enemies? There we go. Hi, bye. I love whenever you do the Thieves Guild and you have the Grey Cowl? Is that what it's called? I believe. Arcera. Hello.
What do you...
Girl?
The holy book of, if it exists. The supposed, the too big to find there. It is in effect. You've piqued my curiosity. Check back with me tomorrow.
Cool. We'll wait 24 hours. I'll just literally sit right here the whole time. Just... phone not working. Hello?
Go ahead, please. I'll... The first word... Words of each paragraph are the key. I'm sure of it. Well, I shouldn't keep you. Goodbye. What? Archmage, good day.
It is. I remember, I know where it is. It's the Green Emperor Way. Tower. Two touches. Midday sun. The something tower touches the midday sun. Isn't it? Is it here? I'll have to leave. The Green Emperor Tower. Isn't it this? Isn't it the Oblivion Gardens? I believe so. No, it's not. It's... I think it's the Temple District, isn't it? It's fucking somewhere in the city.
I don't know if I can help you, but I'll try.
Because I know what it looks like. It's like a little... No. What is the Arboretum? It's like a little gravestone thing.
You have my ear, citizen.
Oh. Never mind. It's a palace. Right? Yeah, there we go. And then we have to wait till the midday sun. There we go. Located the Shrine of Dagon main quest. Sweet. Let's go. Alright, let's hop on our baby. Let's go. Ooby ooby doo, Dagon coming after you. Shadowmare, the fuck are you doing? I didn't back him up. Or up. Shadowmare's a girl, right? Oh, duh. Shadowmare. No. You fucking slut. Asshole. Probably should have took some of the Mythic Dawn's outfit. I didn't. Damn it. I thought I did. Hi.
Welcome, sister. The hour is late, but the Master still has need for willing hands. You may pass into the shrine. Harrow will take you to the Master for your... Do not tarry.
Excuse the fuck out of me.
I am Harrow, Warden of the Shrine of Dagon. By following the path of dawn, hidden in the writings of the Master, Mankar Cameron, you have arrived at an opportune... As a member of... Give me your possession. Very good.
As if I can't just shock the shit out of y'all. Oh, I guess I gotta... Oh. Ew. Oh, yeah, you can see I'm a vampire. Sorry. Hope y'all are cool with that. I hate having to walk and follow them.
Greet the new day, sister.
Greet the new day, sister.
Yeah, sure. About that. Damn, it's almost 5 o'clock.
The dragon throne is empty, and we hold the amulet of kings. Praise be to your brothers and sisters. Great shall be their reward in paradise.
Praise be.
Hear now the words of Lord Dagon. When I walk the earth again, the faithful among you shall receive your reward, to be set above all other mortals forever. As for the rest, the weak shall be winnowed, the timid shall be cast down, the mighty shall tremble at my feet and pray for pardon.
So saith Lord Dagon, praise be.
Your reward, brothers and sisters. The time of cleansing draws nigh. I go now to paradise. I shall return with Lord Dagon at the coming of the dawn.
Dawn is breaking. We have a new sister who wishes to bind herself to the service of Lord Dagon.
You are weak like the gods you pray to. You
Give me all my shit. Ho. Fuck you. Fuck all y'all bitches. Oh, I'm gonna fuck you and I'm gonna fuck you good.
the gods you pray to.
I don't pray to any gods, actually. Fuck you. That's y'all's fucking problem. Is all y'all want to do with Megrin Dagon. Guess what? He don't fucking care about you, bitch. He fucking hates y'all, but... What the fuck just happened there? Is this bitch collapsing on me? Yeah, fuck all y'all. How did y'all know that shit was happening anyway? Fuck you. Y'all cheating.
For Lord Dagon! Be glad you are not the top!
Be glad of what? I'm sorry? That's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought. Oh.
You cannot escape.
I cannot escape.
Master's vigilance. Only I do not fear death.
Yeah, y'all got fucked.
Hello? Who's there?
Me, bitch.
You cannot escape the Master's vigilance.
Cannot escape the Master's vigilance.
I've literally killed every single one of you guys, and you guys still are trying to fight me? Like, y'all are really smart. Oh, now you're starting to run. That's cute. Oh yeah, run away, please. Oh, there he goes. I think one of the little bunnies got away. Damn.
Who's there? You
You
cannot
cannot
escape
escape the Master's vigilance.
I do not fear death.
Good. I'm really glad you're not fearing it.
For Lord Dagon! Look out! I do not fear death.
Oh, you tried. They tried to get away. Yep, that should be that. Fuck that bitch. Alright, go to Martin. Oh, excuse me. Try not to yawn. Alright. I think about done for today. Let's see. Who all is streaming? I would like to know. Let's see. I don't understand what that is, but alright. We'll go raid Jumbo. Oh my god, what the fuck was that? Oh, it's an ad. That's great. Alright, we're gonna go raid Jumbo, or try to anyway, because I don't know how, this shit likes to do. So we're gonna see. Actually, what's he doing? What's he doing? From Elden Ring. Yeah, let's try Jumbo. Why is everything lagging? Jesus Christ, hang on. Alright, cool. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys all have a good day. I'm not streaming tomorrow, but I'll probably stream the day after, which is Tuesday? Tuesday. Y'all have a good day. Autopilot.